The job of a president is to tell the truth, to be candid, to face facts, to lead, not to incite.
A nation that at its best loves, protects, and helps our fellow Americans.
Hello again. From me to you. A few remarks based on the fact that I've spent the last 3 days trying to put together a few remarks, and I end up repeating what you're already hearing on television, and by golly, are we ever tired of that, huh? This has been, for many of us, an exhausting 4 years. All I have to offer to you is the voice of someone who is your friend, your relative, an acquaintance, might be a stranger out there watching, and I'm not sure I know any more than you do. What are the basics of leadership? Integrity, that'd be number one. Being strong, tough-minded, as Martin Luther King said, and tender-hearted. Why does compassion matter in a leader? It's because people of compassion have humility and they listen. Now, when they listen, they're listening to appreciate and understand human suffering. Integrity, tough-minded, tender-hearted. You need a good vision, you need high purpose. You know, early on, a lot of people dismissed President Trump's terrible remarks, his tweets, this and that. That's just words. Then along came a genuine crisis, the coronavirus pandemic, a code blue. You know, it's like the country's having a heart attack. The experts go to him and they warn him and they say, this disease is sweeping across the country. We've got to act now. They told him in January, in February, in March, into April. And the president's response,
And this is their new hoax.
the experts who know tell him it's real. He says to everybody else, fake news, it's a hoax. He manages to botch up the whole thing. How did he do that? By ignoring, by saying, oh, you know, I don't see anything. And he starts to dismiss this like a little kid.
Looks like by April, you know, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true.
He even does this other thing that kids do when they cover their eyes. I want some magic. And then he calls out to all of us and says, magically, this virus is going to disappear.
One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. It's going to disappear. It's going to go away. Hopefully at the end of the month, it's going to go away. I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go away without a vaccine. Disappearing. It's going to disappear.
It'll all be over by Memorial Day. Hey, that was several months ago. I wonder how many people died and suffered with disease because the president was setting a horrible example. Imagine if he'd gotten up there and said, wear a mask. Imagine if he'd gotten up there and done what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have shown us is the way to handle an emergency. And the president's response could not have been worse, and that continues.
Today, we see pain, hurt, and destruction.
And it's racial unrest. And we've got three groups. We've got the police who are struggling to learn how to deal with this better. We've got the peaceful protesters who are exercising their right and trying to help all of us, saying, listen, good leaders, listen. That group needs to be heard. And then we got the third group, the looters, and Joe Biden says, arrest them. What's Trump's response? It's kind of like, arrest everybody. You know, call out the army, step on them. So there's the way to respond to crises. We've had two of them. They've tested this leadership, and they've shown what a bad leader does in crises. He blows it. He completely ruins the response. How did we end up with a leader in the White House who seems to be missing integrity, who is missing being tender-hearted, thus he's kind of heart deaf to a lot of the issues and problems and suffering out there. And he's not tough-minded either. It's really discouraging, isn't it, to hear people say, well, one thing I like about Trump is he's really strong. You know? Bullying is not strength, is it? Did any of you who ever studied leadership or listened to your parents talk about it as a kid, have them tell you, gee, the way to be a good leader is to bully people and insult them? This president is acting in dangerous ways, and we got a great choice now. Those two people named Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. 80% of Americans believe the country is divided. There's one thing we've got some commonality on. We all think this country has been torn apart the worst since the Civil War. I keep doing this because that's kind of you feel like you have to hold your head in to keep it from blowing up with all this incredible barrage of stuff coming across the television. The chance finally to elect people of compassion, strength, and heart, and also a woman 100 years after women finally got the right to vote. We got a chance. We got a chance to elect both Joe Biden and the first woman in one of those top two spots. When that happens, and I'm going to say when rather than if, what a celebration we can have. October is going to be very, very big. And I particularly want to invite you up in Ohio to make an extra effort now. I think it's time for us to think about finding the kind of hope, support, and optimism. It's this terrible division. It's the rupture right down the middle of the country. In hospitals, we all know that when they call a code blue, that means somebody's had a heart attack and the expert team rushes to the scene. In the United States, it seems to me like we've got a code red, white, and blue. We all need to respond. We all get a chance to participate in saving our country, in reuniting the United States. And what do we need for that in leadership? Someone who can heal. Someone who can heal. I know it's so tempting to say, gosh, I've had enough of this stuff. But now we've got a choice in a couple of leaders who are both tough-minded and tender-hearted. Here's our opportunity right now. The chance to turn the tide and to begin healing, to reunite the United States with a person of integrity. A person who's tough-minded and tender-hearted. And vote and make sure you're helping your friends do the same. If a leader doesn't have compassion, if they have a blind heart, how are they going to be able to understand the importance of suffering by any group of Americans, by any individual American? I'm smiling because it's getting so tiresome to just look down, feel disgusted, and think there's nothing we can do about it. We've got something we can do about it now.
The job of a president is to tell the truth.
We can elect Joe Biden, we can elect Kamala Harris, and we can restore, reunite our United States. Thank you. Thank you. Let's look forward to celebrating in November.
Trust me with the presidency. I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I'll be an ally of the light, not the darkness.